What's going on, everybody? This is Bryn2. Welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be talking about the time that I went into another dimension while taking acid. Now, if you guys like this video, please drop a like on the video. Also, drop me a follow, drop me a subscribe, whatever you feel like doing. We're a new channel. We're just trying to get started. So, I'd really appreciate the hype and such. Also, you can find me at my other social medias at the top here or whatever I decide to place it now. Let's get down to the meat and potatoes. So, this takes place in the year 2021, and during this time, I was 15 years old. Now, you might be saying to yourself, God damn, Bryn, that's a really, really early time to be taking acid and any sort of drug of the sort, and you'd be absolutely correct. However, I did not care, and you know what? That did not change the outcome of where I'm at in life now. Maybe it did. It's one of those things, all right? So, with that being said, the year was 2021, and during this time, I had a very bad habit of taking acid pretty frequently. About every weekend, either myself or some of my friends that I would go out, take acid, do the whoop-de-woo and such, and we generally had a good time. There had only been a few times where I had sort of a bad experience. However, this was definitely one of them towards the end. So, to set the scene, we had usually this dealer who I guess we'll call her Clarissa. We'll go with the name Clarissa. Her name started with a C. Don't want to give away too much information. I actually have no idea what she's doing now. I probably really haven't seen her after I stopped taking. No, that's a lie. Actually, she worked at a vape shop that was close to my hometown, so I would see her. However, I don't think she recognized me when I went there. Because I didn't get carded. So, with that being said. Or maybe she did. I don't know. I guess I didn't want to be like awkward and be like, hey, you're the girl that used to sell me acid. Regardless, she was not available this weekend. And so me and my buddy Orion, if you've seen the last video, he was actually the guy whose birthday it was. This is me and my buddy that would usually take acid pretty frequently. So we're bumming around one day, and we're trying to figure out what the hell we want to do. As of earlier in the day, I don't quite remember. So my buddy Orion and his brother, we were all pretty close. We were all close friends. And so they had this tree house, very makeshift. The people that had lived there previous had built it, and it was totally disheveled by the time they got to use it and we got to use it. Actually, we stopped going in there pretty soon after this because out of a fear that it would, just collapse on us. One year it snowed pretty hard, and like a lot of the supports just kind of fell off or, didn't look super stable. So this was one of the last times in the tree house, and we called it Tree Home. If you ever, a lot of people like to clown on Tyler, the Creator, nowadays, including me and myself. However, back then, we were pretty avid fans, so we gave it the loving name Tree Home. So we're trying to figure out what to do, and so our buddy, what should I call him? Eli. Our buddy Eli is with us. So it's me, Orion, Eli, and then Orion's brother Adam. And so we're trying to figure out what to do. And we really wanted to take some acid. We really just wanted to trip in general tonight. We already had some weed, but that wasn't going to suffice. We couldn't get access to any alcohol. And just being 15, I think Orion was 17 at the time. If you were like us during that time, sometimes weed wasn't cutting it, and that's kind of sad to say because we had already kind of passed those days where, weed was very fun and we could kind of just, have a ball, just maybe smoking a gram and, just going from that throughout the night. So this was kind of past that point. And our buddy Eli, he was 19 at the time. So he was already graduated and oof. Breathe really hard into the microphone. Sorry, y'all. Sorry, did I spit on you, Mike? All right, well, regardless, Eli tells us, and he was kind of, I wouldn't say known for this, but for a video that he made one time, he had this briefcase that was full of all sorts of different drugs, right? He has a problem with his eye where he's blind somewhat in his left eye. So he takes a lot of different prescriptions. He gets prescribed a lot of different things. So he had all these different like prescription drugs in this briefcase for a shot in a video that he was shooting. And so one of the drugs that was not prescription at all was a few sheets of acid. I believe it was 5 sheets of acid. And he was like, yeah, I got them almost 2 years ago. He had gotten these during the summer of 2019 from a completely different plug, might I add. This was, Clarissa was not around during this time. So he tells us, hey, I've got these sheets. I don't want them. I haven't taken them in years. I'm not sure how good they're going to be. They might not even work at all, but if you want them, I'll sell them to you for $20. And I'm thinking 5 sheets. Oh man, I could take 2 of these. Orion could take 2 and we could just flip the rest. Because Adam, he didn't really like to trip. He took mushrooms a couple times with us, but he wasn't too big on getting stoned either. Now that I think about it, as of recently, when I've hung out with Adam, hey, I don't judge at all. Hey, you know, one man cannot judge another man's phallus. Man, that did not land at all. All right. Kind of sounded like I said phallus or something. All right, let's move on. So we go over to his house. We go into the briefcase. We pick up these sheets. And we both decided that me and Orion are going to take 2 of these. So we go back. It's about nighttime now. And we're chilling in the treehouse. And we both drop 1 tab each. Because we kind of want to parachute this. We don't want to, go too hard in the first round. And if these are bunk, we kind of want to parachute in. We don't really know what we're getting ourselves into. Now, the tabs themselves, they didn't have a taste, So we knew that we weren't going to get in. Which, by the way, guys, I'm sure this is already pretty common knowledge for the average Bryn 2 viewer. But, if it's bitter, it's a spitter. Quite honestly, but however, that's just not it's not a good way of testing it. You really should get a test kit if possible, if you're going to be doing any sort of, I wouldn't even call acid a hard drug, just anything more than weed, really. Get a test kit. It's not worth it. I've had some trips on some definite research chems, and it's not worth it at all. So we take these 2 tabs. We don't take 2 tabs. We take 2 tabs in total. And we're chilling in the treehouse. It's me, Orion, Adam, and then Eli. Eli wanted to go home, so we dropped him off over there when we grabbed the acid. And our other friend, what's a good J name? Jamiroquai. Yeah, we're going to go with Jamiroquai. Any Jamiroquai fans out there? Jamiroquai has came over and now he's chilling with us. So everybody's smoking, and then me and Orion took the 2 tabs. So we're just chilling. We're watching skate videos. I think we were watching some Baker video. I don't know. We watched a lot of skate videos during the time. We were super into skateboarding. We skated almost every day, especially during that summer. So we take these 2 tabs, everything's going fine for about the first 45 minutes, and, we start to feel that come-up feeling, that sort of, tingly, everything's sort of funny, we're starting to giggle, and I definitely have a few videos from this night of just me recording us, ooh, feeling that feeling, whatever. It's a grand old time. And so eventually, I think when we took them, it was about 11 p.m., and by the time we really started to feel it, it was about midnight. And it was starting to kick in. So we all kind of congregate, go back into the house because we don't really want to, I guess deal with being in the treehouse and what if we have to go down? Because you had to climb this ladder to get downstairs, and I don't know if I would have been capable of doing that while tripping. So we all congregate into Orion and Adam's basement. And so Jamiroquai and Adam, they stay there throughout the rest of the night. However, they end up going upstairs to go to bed a little bit later, and so it's just me and Orion. And one of my favorite things to play during a trip is obviously music. You got to have some good music going. So we were probably listening to definitely Pink Floyd was played. Your classic shit. I think we, definitely Kid Cudi, a few of his songs, the LVL, and then like whatever that one like acid song is, just totally typical shit of the time. And then while that music is playing, I like to play. It's like oh god, I forget what they're called, but it's like an infinite shape zoom in thing. Um, let me look up the name of this real quick because it's gonna eat at me. And honestly, I really recommend it if you are infinite shape name. Okay, this is not helpful. Oh my god, the dog's going crazy. Oh my god, you guys, give me 1 second. At one point during the trip, I realized that these were hitting really hard because I was used to taking like 1 to 2 tabs. And not saying that I wouldn't feel shit, but like, I was used to it at the time. And this felt like maybe like 300 UGs or something like that. I don't know. This felt really strong though. And so we were planning on taking the second tab maybe around like 2 a.m., 1 a.m. However, that did not happen. This thing just kept feeling stronger and stronger. So we're going throughout the night, and I remember we're just doing the most fucked things. Like, we're just like, we're having those typical acid conversations. We're talking about like, theories about life, getting real introspective, all that classic bullshit. And I remember looking at Orion at one point, and he was wearing a beanie, and he's got his eyes covering his beanie. And I remember I'm looking at him, and I think I see I'm kind of imagining him as like Toad from Super Mario Bros. Because he was wearing these jorts, and he was wearing this kind of like vest, sort of. It was like a designed vest. And I remember I just thought I saw like Toad, and so I remember I was like, dude, you're Toad. I started like freaking out. I was like, dude, you're literally Toad. And he didn't know, like, I wasn't explaining it at all. He didn't know what the hell I was talking about. I just thought that was funny. And then another part of it is like, I was just sitting down, laying down into the carpet. And one of my favorite things to do in this basement, they had really thick, like almost not shag carpeting, but like really thick carpet. And it was clean, all you nasty bastards. Even though it was the basement, it was clean carpet. So don't get too riled up there. But I would just like dig my head into this carpet because it felt like I was exploring through like some sort of like foresty type thing. I don't know. It's super odd, but like just such a great feeling while you're tripping. And the floor was cold, and like it's a nice cool environment down there, and it was great. Now, this is where the trip kind of starts to like turn a little bit. From what I remember, after I picked my head up from the carpet, I'm like looking around, and like the basement is kind of laid out like an L. So the part of the L that we were in had like a TV, a couch, a little like table area with some seats and like a treadmill, and then the other area was completely dark because this basement didn't have any windows and it was nighttime too. So even if it didn't, we wouldn't be able to see out. Oh, excuse me. Sorry for the burp. We wouldn't be able to see outside regardless. So I remember I go over to this darker part and I just like take a seat, and the music had stopped. We didn't have a playlist on or anything. We were just queuing up songs. So like there's just this like vague light coming from the left side of me as I'm like just staring into this darkness, and all of a sudden, like, the best way I could describe it is I start hearing like, do you guys remember those like MLG compilations where it's like, Mom, get the camera, It sounds really like weird to say, but like I started hearing like muffled, like mixed together audio of that, and my visuals from going like, from like a moving GIF everywhere to almost seeing like those 3D spitting like MLG things, like hit markers, and like the really shittily drawn like Sonic with like a shotgun. I'll put some up on screen because it's really hard to explain, but I like just started seeing that everywhere. And I remember I couldn't explain it, and I tried explaining it to Orion. He wasn't getting it at all. But I remember I was just seeing that, and after I kind of snapped out of that, I'm like in this dark part of the basement, and I remember over by the stairs, because this part of the L had the staircase that went up. I remember I'm like looking over at the staircase, and the staircase is the darkest part because like it's like secluded. There's like no light to it, and I remember just like looking over at it, and I remember I was like, "That's the danger zone." Like, don't like it was like drawing me in, but I was like, I know if I go over there, something bad is gonna happen, and I was like fighting it. It was really odd. I'm sure you guys have experienced this too if you've ever taken acid before, but like when you're in an inside location, you'll have like spots that you'll mentally mark as like bad areas. Like, don't go into that area. It's not good, you know, like it's the scary area, if that makes sense. And so I remember I'm looking at this area and I'm like really drawn to it because I'm like, it's almost as if I'm like picking the red pill, blue pill. Like, I stay over here and I choose my family. However, if I go over there, I sacrifice my family and like give in to riches and wealth. It was so odd. And so I'm looking and I'm like slowly like approaching this dark area, and like I'm getting these visuals of like really weird, like kind of grotesque, like just weird things. And of course, I'm not like really like seeing these. I have my eyes closed for a lot of it, but like when I open my eyes, it's still like the area just darker and darker. But as I close my eyes, you know, when you close your eyes and you get those like internal visuals, it was the same thing with like all the MLG shit. You get those like internal visuals. It kind of reminded me of like, you guys remember that old creepy pasta, like the username 666 from way way back in the day, and those visuals that were on the video. It kind of like reminded me of that, and so I'm like just getting closer and closer. And according to Orion, he had finally like came out of his hat and looked over at me, and he was just seeing me like kind of like fent leaning like over in the corner. And at one point he finally asked like, "Yo, are you good, bro?" And I kind of like just snapped out of it. I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm good." And so I came over to the TV, and you know, it was good for a bit, and we were just kind of tripping, digging my head into the carpet some more. It was going fine. And so now it was maybe about like 3 or 4 a.m. and me and Orion are talking, and we're just talking in loops. And like, this had never really happened before to me, where like, you know, you get like stuck talking in loops. However, I've talked to many people that it's a pretty common thing. And so we're just talking, and we're like, okay, like I remember we were saying, okay, like it's starting to come down now, but it's not coming down, but it is. Like, we kept going into this loop of like, oh, the trip is coming down, but it's really not. It was like so just scuffed. And so finally, like, we kind of break out of it, and these like fractal zoom videos are still playing on the TV, and there's like no music at this point, and it's just this like really weird feeling of like, okay, we're stuck inside. Like, we're stuck inside. We need to get out, or we need to put on something different. We didn't go out yet. We needed to put something different on. And so like it was definitely like 4 or 5 in the morning at this point, because we go over and we click out of YouTube, and they had cable, and we switch over and we start watching the fucking news to like kind of like center ourselves. And this was probably the worst idea. You know, I live really close to Chicago, and if you know what I mean, granted, this is any news station at this point. I don't know when the last time I watched like cable television news was, but it's always just the worst shit. You just hear the worst shit on there. I remember seeing like stories about like, you know, 6 dead in 4th of July party in the city, just like all these horrible news things. And we were just watching it to like center ourselves, because we thought we'd see like stories of like dog owner finds dog and is rescued from tree, you know, like we thought we were gonna see shit like that. And so that's just not helping. So finally we're like, all right, let's go take a walk outside. So we go upstairs, and it's like starting to just freshly become daytime outside. It's like 5 a.m. and the sun is just like barely starting to come up. We grabbed some water, and I'm sure that didn't help either, because we didn't have any drinks or like snacks downstairs. Granted, I can't really eat when I'm on acid. Mushrooms, yeah, I can maybe put some food down, but definitely acid, no. Mainly just liquids. So we drink some water. I think Owen made us some coffee, and I'm not sure how much. I've never really like done any research about caffeine and acid, but I'm sure you're not supposed to mix the two. So we had some coffee, we had some water, and we go outside. And so behind Orion's house, there's this like alley kind of thing. He lives in a very like foresty area, so it's honestly like a really chill area to trip in during the daytime, but it gets a little scary at night. And there's this kind of like, I wouldn't even call it like an alley, just like a back road like behind his house that's like very heavily forested. So we start like going around the block and we wind back to the very like heavily forested road, and we're just walking down. And I remember I recorded a video right before this where I'm like painting the phone up and we're just like kind of looking around, whatever. And I remember feeling like really like grounded, just like feeling that summer sunlight hitting me and just being like, ah, yes, like finally back to normal. And I remember as soon as I put my phone down, I like look up and we're both walking, and then we this all happened very fast, but like we both kind of like clicked together at the same time. We're both walking and we don't feel like we're moving any further. And I remember me and Orion look at each other and we're kind of like, we don't say anything yet, but we like look at each other, we're like, what's going on? I remember we keep walking and there's a stop sign before the intersection of this alley. And we're kind of just like, what the fuck? So we keep walking and we're not getting like any closer to the stop sign, but we're physically moving forward. We're like, we look side to side and shit is like moving past us, but the stop sign is not getting any closer. And we kind of start like freaking out a whole lot. We're really starting to trip out. And we look at each other and we're like, we like explain it to like, do you not see it either? Like, do you not see it moving either? And like we're both expressing the same thing. And I think the weirdest thing is that it happened to the both of us. We were both experiencing the same thing. So we're like, all right, let's calm down. Let's reassess. Let's get this figured out. So I come up with the idea. I'm like, let's look down at our feet. Let's walk for a bit and see if the stop sign moves any closer. So we start walking. We're just looking down and we're walking forward. And we walk for maybe about like 10-15 seconds. And it's not a very long road. Like maybe like 6 house lengths in total. It's not a very long block. We start walking forward and we look up and the stop sign is not any closer. So then we just start freaking out. We start running at full speed and closing our eyes. We're just running. Finally, that seems to break it, because by the time we opened up our eyes, we were finally closer to the stop sign. I don't know if it was just a perception thing from the acid or what, but after that happened and we got done running and we get to the end of the road, it's almost as if like my vision, my FOV increased. Like when you turn your FOV down or up, I guess, in Minecraft, and it gets real like 360 camera looking, everything was like squished and it was under like a fisheye lens. And I remember I feel like I'm seeing everything and I'm really starting to freak out at that point. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Now, normally this wouldn't have scared me that bad. However, my mom was coming to pick me up pretty early. I think she was coming to pick me up at like 8 or 9 in the morning, and it was already like 5, 6 at this time. So we're like, okay, let's go inside. Let's see if we can lay down. We can get some sleep. Of course, we don't. Sorry, I'm adjusting myself here. Adjusting my legs, have my legs crossed. And so we're like trying to figure this out. We're trying to fall asleep. We can't fall asleep. So we're like, all right, whatever. I'm just going to go back home. I just got to thug it out with my mom. I'll go back to sleep and like, we'll get it figured out. So I get back home. I don't get back home. My mom comes. She texts me. She's coming to pick me up. So I'm like, all right. I grab all my stuff, and I'm not like tripping super hard, but I'm definitely still having visuals, and I'm still kind of like coming down a little bit. That like, I wouldn't say post-trip feeling yet, because that hadn't really happened yet, but like definitely the effects were starting to come down just a tad bit. So she picks me up. I get in her car, and I remember as I'm like walking over, my mom drives this Subaru Forester. And I remember I'm like looking at her car, and it looks like a fucking Kia Soul because it's so squished. And I'm just like trying to make sense of all this. So I'm just looking at her car. I'm like, all right, fuck. Let me get in. So we start talking. She's asking me how the night went. I'm like, oh, it's good. Just hanging out with Orion, Adam, Jamiroquai came over. Jamiroquai. She's like, oh, okay, cool. I gotta stop at the Mexican grocery store. And so, like, I'm not really that worried. I'm just like, oh, dude, like, I wanted to get home, like, get some rest. I'm like, all right. So she stops in, and I come in with her. I should have just stayed in the car, but I was still kind of like freaking out a little bit, so I just wanted company at that point. So I go in the store, and like this, if you ever been in a Mexican grocery store, you know they're pretty small, they're pretty squished in, and there's usually like a ton of produce. And I remember I go in and like it's humid in there, and I feel like I'm almost like inside of a jungle of some sorts. Now I'm Mexican, so don't get any hate comments, but I feel like I'm in there and I'm looking at a bunch of like early like predecessor ancestors like picking out fruit and like sniffing it and like very like what would the word be, like I can't think of the word, almost like I feel like I'm saying like a ton, very indescribable, very primal. That's the word that I'd use. Very primal inside of there, because all of these like older Mexican women are in there like just picking out these fruit and like really analyzing them, because you know how Mexican moms are. They love a good deal, and when they don't get their fruit right, they freak out. They flip their shit. So I'm in there and I'm just like trying to calm down. My FOV is still fish-eyed. I'm blown, right? So to put it shortly, I'm blown. So we get out of there. I get an aloe vera, one of those huge ass aloe vera drinks. That was my favorite thing at the time. I haven't had one in a long ass time actually. So I start drinking that, and I'm like trying to calm down, bring myself down back to ground level. So we start heading home, and she's like, yeah, me and your dad are planning on going to the beach later. Like, do you want to come with? And so I'm like, well, that wouldn't be that bad, actually. I could chill out at the beach, maybe get a little nap in. We'll figure it out. Yeah, so I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'll come with you guys. Now, I didn't realize what beach they were talking about. There's this beach that, like, in order to get through there, there's about, like, a 1.5-mile trail that goes through, like, forest to get to the actual beach. So we all end up hopping in the car. I think I passed out. I was able to actually pass out for a little bit in the car. Metro, what's wrong, buddy? I got my dog right next to me. And so once we get to the beach, I'm like walking through there, and I just feel like dehydrated. I'm tired. I just want to get to this beach and chill out. We get there, and it's actually all good for a little bit. And I'm like, all right, cool. I was able to take a nap. I put my hat over my head, and I'm like sitting in the sun, and I'm like kind of just recharging. And I think I knocked out for a little bit. And so when they're ready to leave, they wake me up. They're like, oh, did you have a long night last night? And I'm like, yeah, we just stayed up playing a lot of video games. You know how it is, Mom. You know how it goes. And this is where, like, it just starts getting annoying at this point, because, like, the FOV still had not gone down. I was definitely done tripping by this point, but my FOV was still like very fisheye, and so I was kind of scared. I was like, "Oh my god!" I had heard of people having long-lasting effects from acid that had never truly went away, and I was scared that this was just going to be my vision for the rest of my life. So as we're walking back through this like 1.5-mile trail, I'm like really just quiet and just like just debating in my head, like, is this something that I'm just going to have to deal with for the rest of my life? And I'm just like, oh my god. So we get back into the car, and I think we're finally going home. But no, there's one more stop. They want to get like milkshakes from this place that's pretty close to the beach, and it's one of those like drive up, kind of like a Sonic type deal where you drive up, they come to your car, and they give you the food, or you can sit at a picnic bench there. So we pull up and sit at this picnic bench, and the weirdest thing that happened was I'm chilling out, and there's this kid with an iPad, and he's listening to videos at full volume, and he's listening to not listening, but like watching what sounded to me like almost like an MLG compilation, and it had like those same like air horn sounds and like all that bullshit, and it just started like flashing me back to the prior night. and I just start like getting so agitated in the moment because I'm having like these flashbacks to just what happened like maybe 10 hours ago where I was seeing all that, and I was starting to get really unnerved, and I think my parents noticed that too. And they were just like, hey, like, are you good? Like, I'm just like, oh, no, like, I really just didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night. I'm like trying to pull it together. I'm like, no, I just didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night. Like, if we could just go home after this, I'd really appreciate it. And so they're like, yeah, no problem. We go home, and I go to lay in my bed, and I remember my friends were texting me. Oh, Ryan had not texted me, but Jamiroquai was. He was like, hey, do you want to come out? We're going to go shoot some pool. And I'm like, maybe, I don't know. I'm not feeling that great. I'm going to take a nap, and I'll let you know how I feel. I'll get up around like 7 or 8. And I got home at around like 3 o'clock. Dude, I lay in my bed. I go to bed. I don't wake up. This was 4 p.m. Or like 3 or 4 p.m. I go to bed. I don't wake up until 12 p.m. the next day. And I get up, and I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? And my vision had reset, and everything had like gone back to normal, and I felt like fully normal again. And I remember just feeling like so grateful in that moment that everything had just reset. So, moral of the story, do not take acid that is 2 years old that you don't know the source of. Do not take acid very late at night when you're low on sleep. That I've generally found that does not lead to a whole lot of great circumstances. And don't sit next to kids that are listening to MLG compilations if you happen to have a weird experience with that the prior night. But anyways, you guys, that's going to conclude this story. If you'd like to hear more, I've got a bunch more in the log. Just let me know, either what drug or like what, experience you'd like to hear about. If you got any questions, I reply to every comment. So, just drop your comment. I'll write my little reply. And if, it's not a great comment, I'll at least drop it a like. So, thank you guys again. This has been Bryn2. Please drop a follow, drop a like, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.